Thomas knows there is a lot to do. But if the steam engines and diesel engines work together, they can get the job done. There are jobs for the engines all over Sodor. Different engines are good at different things. Can you help Thomas decide which steam engine should work with which diesel engine? These workmen need to finish painting the Sodor suspension bridge, but the paint is still at the yard. 2 engines need to go and collect it. The yard has a very tight bend. Mavis is short and can go around tight bends. She needs a short steam engine to help her. Which steam engine do you think should help her? What about Gordon and Henry? Are they short? No, they are very long. Who else could help Mavis? What about Percy? Is he shorter than Gordon? Yes, he is. So he can shunt trucks around tight bends too. Well done. Percy can help Mavis collect the paint and take it to the workmen. 1 steam engine and 1 diesel engine working together. These workmen all need to be taken to the airport. There are lots of them. Toby will need some help. Which diesel engine do you think could help him? What about Harry and Bert? Do they take passengers? No. Harry and Bert are good at shunting, but they don't take passengers. Can you see a diesel engine who does take passengers? Daisy. That's a very good idea. Daisy is a diesel and she carries passengers. Daisy can help Toby. There goes Toby with some of the workmen, and here's Daisy to take the rest. Another diesel engine and another steam engine are working together. Here's Gordon. His carriages are full of carpenters. He's taking them to repair the engine sheds. But his train is very heavy, and the sheds are on the other side of Gordon's hill. Edward usually helps push Gordon up the hill, but Edward is busy taking supplies. Are there any diesels that could help Gordon? Thomas isn't sure. Which diesels do you think are good at pushing? Do you think Harry and Bert could push Gordon? They've never done it before, but maybe Harry and Bert could push Gordon up Gordon's hill. They've done it. 2 more diesel engines working with a steam engine. All the work is getting done. Steam engines and diesel engines work very well together. Well done, Thomas. And well done, everyone. The airport was soon finished. It had shining windows, gleaming doors, and a big, tall control tower. And the runway was long and smooth. The engines were very proud and very excited. The first aeroplane was on its way. But there was still one more job to do. Thomas was shunting some trucks into the yard. He was taking great care, but the track was bumpy. Suddenly, they started to come off the track. Some of them headed straight for the water tower. The water tower creaked and wobbled. Then it started to tip. The water tower crashed down across the runway. Luckily, no one was hurt. "The runway's cracked," cried Percy, "and the track is blocked." The airport manager inspected the runway. "Unless it can be repaired, the aeroplane will have to go back," he said. "Trust the steamy to mess things up," oiled Diesel. The Diesels were very cross. They had put up with stinky steam engines all day. Now Thomas had ruined everything. The Steamies were cross too. The aeroplane was getting closer. The workmen started to mend the runway. "We will need George the steamroller to finish the job," the foreman cried. "But I can't get past these trucks," moaned Thomas. "And George is too far away and too slow to come here by himself." The airport manager called for Harvey to clear the tracks. But Harvey was on the other side of the island. He would never get to the airport on time. Thomas thought it was all his fault. "Now I'll never see an aeroplane," moaned Percy. Thomas suddenly had an idea, and he puffed quickly away. Thomas was sure that Diesel 10 could clear the track. "I hope I can get Diesel 10 to help us," puffed Thomas. Diesel 10 was very scary, but asking him to help was the only way to save the airport. Thomas needed to be very brave. "Excuse me," Thomas puffed nervously. Diesel 10 growled loudly. Excuse me," Thomas puffed again. "What do you want?" snapped Diesel 10. Thomas told Diesel 10 all about the blocked track. "Why would I help a steamy?" he grumbled. "Because if the aeroplane doesn't land, there will be no holiday makers," puffed Thomas. "Then none of the engines will be useful." "Maybe I will help," growled Diesel 10. "Later." "But we need your help now," puffed Thomas, "or all the engines will have worked for nothing." "You'll be the most useful engine of all," Thomas added. "All right," snarled Diesel 10. "I'll help." Thomas was glad he'd asked Diesel 10. Diesel 10 was grumpy, but like all engines, he still wanted to be useful. The workmen had mended the runway. "We need George the steamroller quickly," the foreman cried. "The runway is still too bumpy." Thomas and Diesel 10 were puffing as fast as they could. "Where's that scaredy steamy?" grumbled Harry. "Puffed away after he messed things up," muttered Bert. But then Thomas arrived. "It's Thomas," gasped Mavis. "And he's with Diesel 10. Harry and Bert couldn't believe what they were seeing. "Not so scaredy after all," puffed Percy. Before long, Diesel 10 was busy clearing wreckage into the waiting trucks. And Thomas shunted them away. "I never thought I'd see the day," said Bert. "Thomas and Diesel 10 working together will grind my gears," said Harry. Diesel 10 was working very hard. "If we all help, the aeroplane might still be able to come," said Percy. So all of the engines joined in. They had to work quickly. The Diesels forgot how stinky the Steamies were. And the steamies forgot how dirty the diesels were. As soon as the tracks were cleared, Thomas raced off to get George the steamroller. George was waiting on a low loader. Thomas raced back as fast as he could. George smoothed the runway. Suddenly there was a familiar sound. It was Harold the helicopter, and he'd brought the Fat Controller. "The airport looks wonderful, chaps," said Harold. "The aeroplane will soon be here," said the Fat Controller. All the engines were very excited. "Working with diesels was fun after all," said Thomas.
"And working with steamies wasn't bad either,"
said Diesel. They all knew that steamies and diesels are different, but they both liked to pull trucks and carriages, and they both loved to be really useful. The first aeroplane was approaching. At last, the aeroplane landed. All the engines agreed it was a wonderful sight. They were so happy, they blew their whistles and blasted their air horns. At last, the diesels and steamies could do their favourite job.